And so like, you asked about recovery.
Yeah.
I was relentless. I mean, within 30 days, I started running again. I ran a mile with my mom 30 days after my brain surgery.
Wow.
I'm still like, it's still shaved on the side. I still have a little patch there. And I have a video of it on my Instagram. It was like, I'm going to go on a run with my mom. And my doctor's like, you're not going to run for 6 months. I was like, you don't know who the fuck I am. Like they even said that like, you're supposed to stay in a bed for 2 days. I was like, they even told me they're like, I was the fastest person they like go home. I went home after 2 days after I have brain surgery. I was like, I'm ready to go home. I don't want to I was walking a few hours after my surgery and they're like, people take like a week to walk after this thing. I was like, I'm good, bro. Like, let's go.
Please tell me you had insurance.
Yeah, I had insurance. Yeah. I think it was a $250,000 surgery.
Otherwise you'd have to start another business.
Yeah. I mean, no, I really think that surgery cost $250,000, like on paper.
Damn.
It was like after all because there's so many things they have to do to prep you for it. And then you're in there and there's 4 doctors. And, I went to the best doctor in the world, right? He's the best. Dr. Chu is the best brain surgeon in the world at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles. So I wanted the best to cut open my brain.
Damn, man, it's such a wild story. I can't even imagine going through that. And it's like a fucking reminder. It's like, get fit. You need to be in better physical health if anything does happen,
And that's the risk, right? Like they even mentioned to me, they're like, usually if someone is a little bit less fit, it's much higher risk because it's the recovery, right? Like I was working with a meditation coach the 6 weeks up to my surgery. And one of the big things that I did, which was surprising to the doctors, was like, I was like oming and meditating before they put me out. And I'm like in the bed, they're like, okay, count from 5, 4. I'm like, om, and I'm oming. And I think because my state was so calm, it had led to the back end of my recovery being a lot better. There's a lot of studies that say that if you go into a surgery in a much calmer state and you don't have all these endorphins of running that are aggressive, on the back end, you're going to be much better. And that was really my focus, is I wanted to be very still and calm going into that surgery. Even though I could have not woken up, that was a real risk.
Well, listen, we're going to talk about your new business. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, but I can't let you get away with not telling me about this because you said earlier, you talked about your transition. What do you mean by that?
So the transition as in from the
yeah, I know what you mean.
The old person that I was into the new person that I was?
No, you talked about it with regards to death. You'll be ready for your transition.
So your question is asking is like getting ready for the day that I die?
Yeah, but you mentioned your transition. What do you mean by that?
I don't know what you mean by what I mean by that.
Well, what are you getting at when you talk about your transition? Because like you can say I just die, but when you say transition, you're like implying you're going to transition to somewhere.
Yeah, I think that the soul moves on. I think that there is something that's innate to us. This is just my personal belief, is that I think we are a bit of a meat suit in this experience.
Okay.
But I think there's something a lot deeper that drives our soul besides that. There's something that when you meet someone and you look them in the eye and you feel like you've met them before, you probably have met their soul in some lifetime before. So the transition of this potential meat suit into whatever the next, either it is a meat suit or another level of consciousness, I think my entire experience here on this earth is to prepare for that. You are born to prepare to die. Your entire life is about the preparation of your death, because in my opinion, your death is the most important day of your life. All these things, by the way, like all these extra things that happen in between life are stories that we create for ourselves. These are stories that we create in our consciousness. But the true finite nature for us is that moment that we leave, we transition, and we're working towards that. I believe that you're here still, you're still here, I'm still here, we're still here, because we're supposed to keep working on ourselves, because there's an externality that'll get us to the next place. And it's the work we're doing now that wants to lead us to that next place.
It's interesting because there was a thing, I can't remember what it was a while ago. It was like a study or a series of interviews with people on their deathbeds and just asking them the questions about their life and yada, yada. And it's all cliches. Their responses like, I didn't spend enough time with my family. I had too many arguments. I worked too much. It's like that reflects somebody who hasn't prepared for death, right? That's somebody who's just lived their life and they've got to the point of death. What you're saying is you prepare so at the point you are going to die, you're at peace because maybe you've repaired all those broken relationships and you've you've done all the things you want to do.
Yeah. And you've loved the way that you wanted to love. Like those 6 weeks between November 20th and January 8th, you know, I did everything. I like made love when I wanted to make love. I said to
Show
my
off.
parents, I said how much I loved.
How do you do that?
How? I went on the trips that I wanted to go to. I said, I love you to the people that I love the most. I hugged the people that I love the most. I ate the foods that I wanted to eat. I did everything that I wanted that I knew like, fuck, if I die today, I feel good about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a lot I want to do still. Okay. So what's left then?
Everything is left.
Come on, man.
Everything is left. There's so much breath to life. You know, like when I wake up now, I just have so much fucking gratitude for all the things that I get to do, because what's happened since that moment, yes, it's been challenging, but professionally and for my soul has been the most invigorating 2 years of my life. It's been the best, like the things that happen, how things have happened with life. This is why I really believe I switched with something else, because what has happened, who's come into my life, how things are happening, it's like poetry. Like life has turned into complete poetry in so many ways.
You're like the happiest guy I know. Occasionally we do interviews and afterwards we're like, fuck, we need more Bitcoin. I know at the end of this one, I'm going to be like, fuck, I need to get my shit together.
Did you ever go back to the dentist to let you leave?
Oh my gosh. So I had a thing with him after, because I went back and he was so distraught. Like he came to the hospital that night and he was like, Justin, I'm so sorry. I should have called 911. You should have been, because imagine I would have drove and hit a car and he let me leave. A doctor let me leave his office after having a very heavy seizure. So I've had quite a good relationship. My teeth look great. Thanks, doc. Like teeth are straight, but I think it's changed a lot of his practice. You know, he was trying to be very helpful. And, you know, I feel bad because, you know, he didn't know. He thought it was a vasovagal dilation that created a pass out in the nerve on the back of your neck. That's what his whole thing was. He didn't think that I had a seizure because of a cavernoma that was bleeding in my right temporal lobe. It's very rare, by the way. Like the thing I have, actually not so rare. They think that a lot of people have these in their brain, right? They're these like little raspberries, but usually they never bleed and explode. People have these sitting in their brain. Actually, there's a very famous fighter that I've gotten quite close with. He won the championship in Bellator, and then he wasn't allowed to fight to regain his championship. Rafael Lovato Jr., he's like, I call him my blood brother because he has all these cavernomas in his brain like me, but he's never bled. And there's a lot of people that potentially have these. And you wouldn't know unless you get a MRI of your brain. And most people have no reason to get an MRI of their brain. It takes an hour. It's really loud. So I had the symptoms. That's what created my issues. And I had the bleed. So right now, I mean, what's crazy, if I get an MRI, there's a piece of my brain just missing. There's just fluid there. It's just this hole there. It's
Wow,
so
I think that's
I'll show you the photos. It's gnarly, dude.
I think that's the part of the brain which controls anger.
Oh,
hate.
I don't know about
You've lost that, man.
I don't know. You know, the weird thing was I asked the doctors, like, so what's going on in this part of the brain? They're like, nothing. You're fine. Like, I was like, what do you mean nothing? Like, what do you,
Come on, man.
Come on, dog. Like, what you're saying is you don't actually know. That's what you're saying. And that's okay. Like, you don't know what goes on in that part of the brain. It's very quiet. Like, yeah, you don't know. I believe there's a bit of soul consciousness at that part. I believe that there's some things that are related to like, who are you supposed to be in the world?